Imagine a world where your phone, your electric car, even advanced missile systems suddenly stop working. This isn't a sci-fi dystopia. It is a very real threat tied to something you've probably never heard of: rare earth elements. Who controls these crucial materials? And what does it mean for global power in the coming decades? Most people think the next great conflict will be fought over oil, or maybe even water. But the truth is, the battle for the 21st century is already being waged over a set of 17 obscure elements on the periodic table. And today, we're looking at the shadowy global chess match to control them. A game where a single country holds a near monopoly, capable of bringing the world's most advanced economies to a grinding halt. But as we delve into this high-stakes struggle for resources, we'll also be asking how it affects you. Have you ever wondered what really goes into the smartphone in your pocket? Or the laptop you work on? Or if the green energy revolution we're all banking on is as secure as we believe? As our world accelerates towards a high-tech, electrified future, have you ever stopped to think of the risks? I will warn you now, your life will probably be better if you don't watch this video. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and you'll be happier not knowing, because once we expose the fragile supply chains that underpin modern life, there's no going back. I hardly ever thought about where my electronics came from. I used to upgrade my phone every couple of years, get excited about faster processors and better cameras, and just assume the next model would always be there, ready and waiting. I'd always think, how do they keep making these things better and cheaper? What's the magic ingredient? If you can relate, then by the end of this video, I guarantee you'll have changed your mind about the true cost of our digital world. But let's start at the beginning. There are all kinds of geopolitical tensions, from trade wars to military standoffs to territorial disputes. There will always be nations competing for influence. But underneath it all lies a more fundamental competition, one for the raw materials that make modern civilization possible. And in this arena, nothing is more critical or more contested than rare earth elements. So what are they? Despite the name, rare earths aren't actually that rare. Some, like cerium, are more common in the Earth's crust than copper or lead. The name is a historical relic from when they were first discovered and were difficult to separate from their ores. The real challenge isn't finding them. It's mining and processing them. This is a notoriously dirty, complex, and expensive process involving toxic acids and radioactive byproducts. For decades, most of the developed world didn't want to deal with the environmental fallout, so they outsourced it. Enter China. Starting in the 1980s, under the strategic vision of leader Deng Xiaoping, who famously said, "The Middle East has oil. China has rare earths." The country began a systematic campaign to dominate the industry. They invested heavily, tolerated the environmental damage, and used low labor costs and state subsidies to undercut competitors across the globe. Mines in the United States, Australia, and elsewhere were driven out of business, unable to compete with China's rock-bottom prices. By the early 2000s, the plan had worked. China went from a minor player to controlling over 95% of the global supply of processed rare earth elements. The rest of the world had, in essence, handed over the keys to the future. For a long time, nobody really cared. As long as the magnets, batteries, and phosphorus kept flowing, a Chinese monopoly was a problem for another day. That all changed in 2010. A territorial dispute over a set of islands known as the Senkaku in Japan and the Diaoyu in China led to a collision between a Chinese fishing trawler and Japanese Coast Guard vessels. In response, China quietly halted all rare earth shipments to Japan, a country whose entire high-tech electronics industry, from Sony to Toyota, depended on them. It was a geopolitical earthquake. The world suddenly woke up to the fact that China didn't just have an economic monopoly, it had a weapon. They had demonstrated a willingness to use their control over these vital materials to achieve political goals. Panic spread through the halls of government in Washington, Brussels, and Tokyo. Prices for some rare earths skyrocketed by thousands of %. Suddenly, everyone was scrambling to answer the same question. What do we do if China turns off the tap for good? You might be thinking, this is all about governments and corporations. What does it have to do with me? The answer is everything. Take a look at the device you're watching this on. It contains multiple rare earth elements. Neodymium and praseodymium are used to make the tiny, powerful magnets in the speakers and vibration motor. Europium and terbium might be creating the vibrant reds and greens on your screen. The polishing process for the glass likely used cerium oxide, and that's just one device. Your life is built on these elements. The powerful magnets in the electric motors of EVs and wind turbines, they need neodymium and dysprosium. The fiber optic cables that deliver high-speed internet, they require erbium to amplify the signal. Advanced medical equipment like MRI machines, the guidance systems in missiles and drones, the lasers in your Blu-ray player, the catalytic converters in your car, the list is almost endless. These 17 elements are the invisible ingredients of modernity. Without a stable supply, the entire global tech ecosystem, the green energy transition, and even national security are at risk. The 2010 crisis was a wake-up call, but the world hit the snooze button. Once the diplomatic incident with Japan cooled down and China resumed exports, prices fell and the sense of urgency faded. It was easier to go back to the convenience of cheap Chinese supply than to make the difficult, long-term investments needed to rebuild independent supply chains. But the threat never went away. In the background, China has continued to consolidate its power, merging its rare earth companies into giant state-controlled conglomerates to better manage production and pricing. They are playing a long game, and they're playing to win. Now, the alarm is ringing again, and it's louder than ever. With rising tensions between the US and China over trade, technology, and Taiwan, the prospect of a rare earth cutoff is no longer hypothetical. It's a core part of the strategic calculus. The United States has designated rare earths as critical to national defense, but is still years, perhaps decades, away from self-sufficiency. The Pentagon is funding projects to restart domestic mining and processing, like the Mountain Pass mine in California, which was once the world's leading producer before it was bankrupted by Chinese competition. But restarting a mine is only the first step. The real choke point is processing. The complex, multi-stage process of separating the individual rare earth elements from each other is a capability that the West has almost completely lost. Building these facilities is slow, expensive, and faces huge environmental hurdles. It's not a switch you can just flip back on. China, meanwhile, has spent 40 years perfecting these techniques. They not only control the mines, but also the patents, the equipment, and the human expertise. This has sparked a new global gold rush, but for elements far more strategic than gold. Countries are scrambling to find and develop new sources. Australia has emerged as a significant player, but most of its raw ore is still sent to, you guessed it, China for processing. Projects are being explored everywhere, from Vietnam and Brazil to Canada and Greenland. In fact, a significant part of the geopolitical interest in Greenland, the massive ice-covered island, is its huge untapped reserves of rare earths. This is turning the Arctic into a new frontier for great power competition. But the race isn't just happening on land. Companies are now looking to the deep sea, where potato-sized nodules rich in rare earths and other critical metals lie scattered across the ocean floor. Deep-sea mining promises a potential treasure trove, but it comes with massive and unknown environmental risks. We could be trading one problem geopolitical dependency for another, the irreversible destruction of fragile marine ecosystems we barely understand. So, where does this leave us? The world is caught in a difficult bind. We are addicted to a high-tech lifestyle, and committed to a green energy transition, both of which are completely dependent on a handful of materials controlled by a single strategic rival. Breaking this dependency is one of the most urgent and complex challenges of our time. It will require massive investment, political will, technological innovation, and a serious conversation about the environmental trade-offs we're willing to make. The next time you hit a button on your phone, see a wind turbine spinning on the horizon, or get into an electric car, remember the invisible chain that makes it all possible. A chain that stretches from dirty mines and complex chemical plants, across oceans and geopolitical fault lines, all the way to your fingertips. This isn't just about rocks and minerals. It's about power, control, and the future of the world as we know it. The quiet race for rare earths is a silent war, and its outcome will shape the 21st century in ways we are only just beginning to comprehend. The world you take for granted is more fragile than you think, balanced on the supply of 17 elements you've probably never heard of.